for Geof Hewitt.
Thanks, Nicole. So I'm writing this epic that will change the world. Should I decide to make it public, when this crow flies overhead and seems to hover, which is something I've never seen, inches from my upturned face, before lifting its black bulk back to the sky. So I go back to the epic when this car, a green 48 Buick convertible with the top down, pulls into my yard, and 3 men in long coats jump out and call across the yard, "Are you Geof Hewitt?" I tell them no, and they jump back in the Buick and roar off. I never see them again. So I return to my epic poem that will change the world, and I feel my attentions shift like this quick jolt in the Earth's rotation. It's like this indescribable, what are you doing, of the insides of one's body, bones, guts, even skin and brain, asking, what are you doing? And I'm thinking about priorities. A chocolate would taste pretty good about now. I've been through a lot, you know. Seen a lot of strange things. The water was doing what water does best, which is soak things, which is finding its own level, which is leading to growth, plant growth, and then rot, which is back to the thirsty soil. The water was doing what water does best. It was dripping from every surface. It was dripping from my hair and from my nose. And the nasty November wind was doing what it does best. Soaking through fingertips and elbows, and from the cuffs of soaked pants, through socks, into shoes. And that nasty November wind, as I mentioned, was doing what it does best, which is to take thin blood and flesh to the just short of numb stage. Christ, the water without that wind would have seemed almost warm. I was cursing my luck, out of gas, 2 miles from home, on a deserted country road. I was walking. At 6 p.m., I was leaning into the driven rain, not seeing any humor, through wet lashes, but already savoring the telling later. The wind was whipping bullets of water against my helpless face, while river currents forced me backwards nearly half the time. But I sang in that gathering darkness, sang, and brought my soggy groceries home, doing what I do best. When I was a kid and something bad happened to a neighbor, I tried to stay away until things had blown over. I didn't know what to say. My grandfather cut his left thumb clean off with a table saw. He was a carpenter making someone a table. He drove himself to the hospital 12 miles, holding his red hand out the window at red lights so traffic would know to let him through. I didn't want to see him, no matter that I loved him. Hell, that made it harder. But he was in our driveway before I knew he was even out of the hospital, and before I could hug him or hide, he told me his thumb stump had grown a new nail. Wanna see? Tongue frozen, I nodded and saw he held to his turbaned thumb a sixpenny nail from his shop. A friend at a fancy dinner asked her 3-year-old son, who had just by accident farted loudly, "Johnny, what do you say?" The guests had paused in their talk to study their reflections in the consommé. The astonished child replied, "Thank you." What does one say? What are the right words? My friend just lost half his house to a house fire. I said, "You're so calm, I'd be throwing a fit." He replied in a way that comforted me, "I've thrown it already." They say the daughter at birth has all the eggs she'll ever produce. Did you ever know that? How many people knew that? It's pretty wild. The path is set at your mother's birth. As other paths unfold, like the gradual unfolding of a lifeline in the fist of time. Some of these paths will come to coincidence. It might be the accident of a flat tire that delays you just enough to miss the train that would have run you over. And driving home with your suitcase, stop at a bar to inspect the tire, then decide to have one. And you meet a brilliant executive who takes you into her confidence, and within a year, you're flying in a private jet, riding in limousines with faultless tires and tuxedoed drivers who know the quickest route and where to drop you to celebrate time saved by such smart travel. At times you think you're controlling the path. How else would anyone be so lucky if not just plain, well, maybe brilliant, a brilliant executive? But you crave time to dress yourself in a tuxedo and take yourself for a spin in the limousine, ignoring the snooty stares at stoplights from people in normal cars who think you're just a lowly chauffeur sporting about in the boss's rig. Driving home at midnight, your headlights catch the eyes of a cat working the roadside. It panics and runs a path diagonal under your left front tire. At midnight, there's no finding the owner, no owner to comfort, until between sobs, it was only a cat. Arriving home, you slump from the vehicle and feel your way in the dark. You know the path can swing in front of fortune and misery a whole life long. That's why I keep my fingers crossed. It's a form of prayer.